What's going on, everybody? Cleepus Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks for the TCL 4X 5G that you might not know about. Now, before we go any further, as always, I do want to remind you to hit that subscribe button, and if you want to learn more about this phone, I will be linking to several other videos about it in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a few different options we have for the battery percentage in the status bar. So as you can see up here, by default, the battery percentage is going to be inside the battery icon, which in my opinion is actually pretty cool, but with this phone there are a couple options. So to get to these, the first thing you're going to do is go to settings. From here, go to display. And from the display menu, go to status bar and notch. From here, go to battery percentage. And as you can see, again by default, the battery percentage is going to be inside the battery icon, but you can also put it next to the icon. And this is pretty much how it typically looks on most other phones, or if you want, you can have it not show at all. The next thing I'm going to show you is a quick way to access your camera. Now this feature is on by default, so you don't need to do anything special to enable it, but just keep in mind no matter what you're doing on your phone, whether you're on your home screen or you're in an app or whatever the case may be, the quick way to get to your camera is simply by double pressing the power key like this. And as you can see, the camera opened right up. Let's try that one more time, this time on an app. So there we go. And one final time when the display is locked. And there we go. So as you can see, again, no matter where you are, what you're doing on your phone, that shortcut is always going to work. And again, it is enabled by default, so you don't need to do anything before using it. The next thing I'm going to show you is an alternate way to take a screenshot. Now, in case you don't know, the normal way to take a screenshot with this phone is by pressing the power key and the volume down key at the same time like this. And there we go. Pretty simple, but another way is to put 3 fingers on the screen and swipe down like this. And there we go, as you can see, that does take a screenshot too. And keep in mind, just like the camera shortcut, this feature should be on by default, but in case for whatever reason it's not, if you want to get to this feature, or maybe you want to turn it off, what you're going to do is go to settings. From here, go to buttons and gestures. So right here, from this menu, go to gestures. And as you can see, again by default, 3-finger screenshot is going to be on, so if you want to turn it off, you always can. Or again, if for whatever reason it's not on your phone, this is where you can go to turn it on. The next thing I'm going to show you is a feature called adaptive brightness. In case you don't know, what this feature does is pretty much exactly what the name sounds like. It's basically going to adjust the brightness of your display based on your environment. So if you're in a darker area, it's going to dim the display, and if you're in a brighter area, it's going to brighten it up to make it easier to see. Now honestly, I did a lot on this phone before I actually started making videos with it, so I don't exactly remember if this feature is on by default, but in case it's not, or maybe it is and you want to turn it off, whatever the case may be, to get to adaptive brightness, what you're going to do is go to settings. From here, go to display. So right here. And adaptive brightness is right here at the top. So if you toggle it on, as you can see, the display is automatically adjusting. Now, I'm personally not a huge fan of adaptive brightness because as you can see here, the display is pretty dim and I just really don't like it like this. But at the end of the day, it's really going to be up to personal preference. So if you haven't already, I definitely recommend giving the feature a try because who knows, you might end up liking it. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to make a screen recording. Now, this is a real easy thing to do. What you're going to do is pull down your shade like this, one more time. And if you haven't changed this menu at all, screen recorder is going to be right here. Tap on the icon. And now as you can see, there's a little countdown. And now we are recording. So when it's recording, you can do whatever. And when you want to stop it, hit the stop button right here. And it's going to be saved right to your photos. You can also delete it from here as well. So as you can see, that was pretty simple, but we do have a couple options we can change here. So to get to these, of course, go to settings. From this menu, go to advanced features. So right here. And from here, go to where it says screen recorder. So as you can see, we do have a few different options, literally just 3 of them, so not many. So the first one is video resolution. By default, it is going to be 720p, but if you want to save space, you can also change it to 480p. We got sound under this. By default, it's just going to be the microphone, but if you don't want sound, you can also mute it. I noticed for whatever reason, it doesn't record device audio, and that's kind of weird because pretty much every phone that can make screen recordings does do that, but just keep in mind on this phone, for whatever reason, I guess we can't record device audio. But again, if you want to narrate it, keep in mind the mic is on by default, but if you don't want sound, you can mute it here. And then finally, we got record touch interactions, and this basically means when you're recording, whenever you touch the screen, there's going to be a little cursor wherever you touch. Now I'm going to show you how to use split screen. Now keep in mind the shortcut for this is enabled by default, just like pretty much all the gestures on this phone. So again, you don't need to do anything special to activate it. But essentially, to use split screen, say we're on Chrome for example, what you're going to do is put 3 fingers on the screen like this and swipe up. So as you can see, we're now in split screen mode. So you can choose whatever app you want here. So we're just going to do, I don't know, calculator. And as you can see, we are now in split screen. And if you want one app to take over, pull this either all the way down or all the way up. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use your power button to end a call. So to do this, what you're going to do is go to Settings. From here, go to Accessibility, so right here. From the Accessibility menu, go to where it says Interaction Controls. So right here, and as you can see by default, power button ends call is going to be off, but if you want to be able to use the power button to end a call, then of course you can turn it on. Now, while we're here, I want to talk a little bit about the Google Assistant button. Now, in my opinion, I'm really not a fan of assistant buttons. Not everyone uses the Assistant, and despite the Google Assistant being pretty much my favorite virtual assistant, having a dedicated button to it is kind of annoying. But just keep in mind by default, whenever you press this button right here, it is going to activate the Assistant. But if you don't want it to do that, then in the Accessibility menu, where it says Google Assistant button controls, simply disable Start Google Assistant. And now, as you can see, it's no longer going to work. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to edit your quick menu. Now, I don't know if it's actually called that. I just call it that because it makes sense. But essentially, what I mean by quick menu is the menu you get when you pull down your shade twice. So right here, this menu basically gives you quick access to a bunch of different features, but keep in mind, you can't actually customize it. So to do this, go to the end, hit edit. And as you can see, it's going to give you everything you have on the menu. And then underneath this, we got a few tiles you can add. As you can see by default, it has pretty much everything on the menu already, and really hardly anything you can add. But essentially, if you want to remove something, press and hold, drag it into this section. And then if you want to add something, basically same thing, press and hold, and drag it onto the menu. When you're done, be sure to hit the check mark right here, and if you want to reset, hit this button right here. The next thing I'm going to show you is a feature called one-handed mode. This is basically going to make the phone a lot easier to use with one hand. Now, when it comes to one-handed mode, a lot of phones have a bunch of confusing gestures for it, but with the TCL 4X 5G, it's actually a lot easier. So with this phone, to get to one-handed mode, swipe down twice, go to the second page, and one-handed mode is right here. Tap on this icon. And as you can see, it basically gives you a mini display, which again is a lot easier to use with one hand. To get out of it, tap anywhere here, and it's going to go right back to normal. Now you can customize it a little as well. To do this, go to Settings. From here, go to Advanced Features. From here, go to one-handed mode. And as you can see, you can customize the size, and you can activate it using a gesture. So if you turn this on, basically to get to it, all you have to do is go like this. And I almost forgot to mention, you can actually switch the side. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is how to use your battery saver. So to get to this, what you're going to do is go to Settings. From here, go to Smart Manager, so right here. And from this menu, go to Battery. And as you can see, there are two different battery savers here. The first one is normal battery saver, which you actually don't even need to go to the settings to access. All you have to do is go to the quick menu, go to the second page, and battery saver is right here. That's basically the normal one. It's gonna dim your display and maybe limit a couple different background tasks. But with super battery saver, you are gonna have to go to the settings to get to this. And if you turn this on, it's basically gonna have your phone doing pretty much the bare minimum and give you, as you can see here, pretty much a blank screen. And this is really gonna maximize your battery life. But keep in mind, you're not gonna wanna use this unless you really have to, because both battery savers do limit your performance quite a bit. But this concludes my tips and tricks video for the TCL 4X 5G. Again, if you wanna learn more about this phone, I will be linking to several other videos about it in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Kalipis Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.